samanasam sharanam sharane mititva raktam, excuse me, sadangri ganas samasulabdha karnam agre vrikan asutrip tripon viganaya yantam prishte mrigam rigayal lubhaka panabhinna. And 1 second. The word for word. So sudra means grass. Sharam is grazing. Samanasam, of a beautiful flower garden. Okay, so you're in this beautiful flower garden. Sharane, under the protection. Aha, but listen to this. Mitiva, being united with a woman. Raktam, attached. Sat angri, of bumblebees. Gana, of groups. Samasu, to the singing. Lubdha karan, whose ear is attracted. Agre means in front. Vrikan means tigers. I'm hearing an echo, by the way. If somebody can go on mute. Asu tripa means who live at the cost of another's life. Aviganaya, neglecting. Yantam, moving. Prishte, behind. Mrigam, the deer. Mrigaya, searched out. Lubdhaka, of a hunter. Bana, by the arrows, and Binam, liable to be pierced. So this is Narada Muni speaking. And he says, my dear king, please search out that deer who is engaged in eating grass in a very nice flower garden along with his wife. That deer is very much attracted to his business, and he is enjoying the sweet singing of the bumblebees in the garden. So he's just, it's a nice sunny day, low humidity, and he's chilling out. But then Narada Muni says, but just try to understand his position. He is unaware that behind him is a tiger, which is accustomed to living at the cost of another's flesh. So he's not aware of this, right? And behind the deer is a hunter who is threatening to pierce him with sharp arrows. Thus, the deer's death is imminent. Purport. Here is an allegory in which the king is advised to find a deer that is always in a dangerous position. Although threatened from all sides, the deer simply eats grass in a nice flower garden, unaware of the danger all around him. I don't know if we can relate to that at all. We just kind of think yesterday was like, today is just like yesterday, and tomorrow will be just like today. And we're just kind of clocking in our time. And like that. All living entities, especially human beings, think themselves very happy in the midst of families. I'm not sure everyone, but at least Prabhupada is saying that. As if living in a flower garden and hearing the sweet humming of bumblebees, everyone is centered around his wife, who is the beauty of the family life. The bumblebees humming may be compared to the talk of children. The human being, just like the deer, enjoys his family without knowing that before him is the factor of time, which is represented by the tiger. Okay, so the tiger is about to grab him is time. The fruit of activities of a living entity simply create another dangerous position and oblige him to accept different types of bodies. And it's interesting like that. So I'm 66. So I know a lot of the devotees in their late 60s and 70s. And it's almost like I'm afraid to ask them, how are you doing, Prabhu? Because, when you get older, things like someone who's very dear, maybe the most dear to me, devotee, I just found out has prostate cancer just today. So, that tiger of time is there for all of us. It's just may be delayed sometime when we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, but it really starts catching up. As Prabhupada said when he was close to leaving this world, do not think this won't happen to you. So let's continue. I think we are, for a deer to run after a mirage of water in the desert is not unusual. The deer is also very fond of sex. The conclusion is that one who lives like a deer will be killed in due course of time. Vedic literatures therefore advise that we should understand our constitutional position. This is a kind of, so that was like Gyan, we usually call it Gyan, like chapter verses 11 to 30 of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You're not your body, this place, the material world is a place of suffering. And now here at the end of the purport, Prabhupada brings in Krishna. Vedic literatures therefore advise that we should understand our constitutional position, right, as Krishna's servant, and take to devotional service before death comes. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 11.9.29, I'll skip the Sanskrit, but after many births, we have attained this human form. Therefore, before death comes, we should engage ourselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is the fulfillment of human life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I chose this verse, and we'll get into it in some detail, kind of for two reasons. I've been listening a lot lately to Srila Prabhupada, either his lectures, his morning walks, his room conversations, and just how often he's just beating the drum of the importance of the human form of life, the nature of this world. And that's, a large part of what he talks about. And then he slips in the beauty of Krishna. And it's an amazing segue, the way he because he's really trying to, of course, he's talking to 20-year-olds, right? And people who are very, very new to bhakti. I mean, the oldest somebody could have been in bhakti is that Prabhupada's giving a class in 77, and they joined in 66, would be 11 years, which nowadays we consider like a young devotee. And what to speak of, mostly he's speaking to people who've been practicing for a year or two or three. And the other thing is, I was interviewed recently by Jayadvaita Swami for a book on the Varnashram, the Vanaprastha ashram, because I guess that's kind of where I'm at in my life. And so that sparked some discussion. So I'm going to go through I'll use a little bit of PowerPoint just to highlight some verses, and I hope you can see them. And let's progress through this, some very strong verses to really wake us up, the nice early morning, Friday morning slap in the face about the realities of life, and then end with a little Shrikant, some sweet at the end. Okay. Like that. So let me see if I can find yes. So another verse that Prabhupada was fond of quoting from Govinda Das, Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talama. It has a beautiful rhyme to it, doesn't it? But it's not so, this life totters like the drop of water on a lotus petal. Well, a lotus petal is almost a waxy surface. So just at any time, Kaputski. And a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Chatasyahi Dhruvam Mityur, Dhruvam Janma Manitasya cha, Tasmat Aparihar Te Natvam Sochitam Arhasi. And it's so obvious in one sense, but we don't always remember that since we've taken birth, we're sure to die. And Prabhupada was also really trying to help us remember, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. He's really trying to get us into that reality. That is reality. We are in the wheel of samsara. And therefore we should do our duty. And I was talking to another friend of mine, a Prabhupada disciple, who he just went through some spinal cord surgery, and it's really difficult for him to walk. One of his legs. So he's in intense physical therapy right now. And he's quite an advanced devotee and gives, great classes and is quite, renounced. And he just said he couldn't believe how going through what he's going through right now, how difficult it is to really understand, to really live by I'm not this body. How connected we are to this body in our consciousness, and what a challenge it is to be free from the bodily concept of life. And we know you can't be freed from the bodily concept of life just intellectually. It ultimately has to come as a mercy of Krishna, as practicing that we're not this body, practicing surrender, practicing. I was just at the first anniversary of the passing away of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. There was like 10,000 devotees, maybe 15,000 devotees at the program. A lot of devotees. And we just heard just how Gopal Krishna Maharaj just gave everything at every second of the day to Prabhupada's service, just nonstop from morning till night. And, it was actually very inspiring to hear that. So something to be, convinced about. Well, we know theoretically we're going to die, but like in Hindi, Bag mein, okay, after some time, not today, right? And of course, how many classes have we heard about that? And then to remember, after death, one is sure to take birth. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And I can remember giving classes not too long ago where I said, "Oh, I'm over here someplace." I don't know if you can see my cursor, right? But now I'm getting over here someplace. And this is just reality. This is just reality. Prabhupada, in the verse in the 11th canto says that after many, many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which, although temporary, affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Okay, so isn't that an interesting connection? Although it's temporary, it still gives us the highest perfection, the opportunity, the highest perfection. I'm reading this book right now called Digital Minimalism, and it's talking about all the ills of and all the greediness of Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and how they're not your friend, and how the algorithms are totally there to get you hooked for as long as possible because they make more money for every minute you're on their site or using their app. But the challenge is that there's some good in that. And so they were talking about the addiction to the internet. It's harder because you can come up with some good things about it, right? You can stay connected, or you can learn something that you didn't know, or whatever. It's easier to just say alcoholism is terrible, or taking opiates, there's no good. But here it's trickier. So here, yes, we have this body, and although it's temporary, and it's made of, we can really give all those old classes from like the 70s, made of mucus, bile, and air, and it's just pus and blood. Although it's temporary, and all those things I just said are true, it can be used to attain the highest perfection. So that kind of yin and yang is really an interesting part of this body that we have, because we have this human form of life. Here at Govardhan, there's just, maybe you see it everywhere, but I just am more attuned to it. There's just living entities everywhere, right? If it's not, flies, it's mosquitoes. If it's not so bad mosquitoes right now, but it's, there's this living and crawling around, and that one, and this, and then there's all the birds and peacocks and the flowers everywhere. And I was thinking it the other day, wow, how did I get this human form of life? There's so many other forms of life. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. And, in listening to Prabhupada's lectures, he would say, if we don't do that, we're just cat and dog consciousness, or sometimes dog and hog. He would mix the different animals. So beautiful, a powerful verse. And again, this is kind of Gyan, although at the end it says, whereas Krishna consciousness, so he throws in the bhakti at the end, is possible only for a human being. And then the famous verse in the 5th canto, just to give you more heavy verses, the attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. That's if you're pious. If you're not pious, then some of those things you're just attracted to the more gross sense gratification. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I'm the center, and what I possess is mine. And this is the challenge of life for every one of us on this call, to go from I'm in the center to Krishna's in the center. And of course, this is the verse where George Harrison wrote the song, I me mine, I me mine, I me mine. Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. But interestingly, because this could sound really heavy, what should I do? In the purport, Prabhupada says, these instructions were meant for sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Sannyasis must abide by Lord Rishabhadev's teachings while on the path of devotional service. So it's also important to know that this, you just got married and you read this verse and whoops, right? But, different shlokas for different folks at different times in their life. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So what should we learn from these verses, right? This is the one. What should we do differently? Should we fully embrace them and renounce our family? I can't, I'm choosing the PowerPoint, so I can't see how many of you raised your hand. Should we reject them and join a different society that makes us feel better? Because these are not exactly feel-good shlokas. Or, that's kind of the thesis, and then the antithesis, and then the synthesis, if you're a fan of the philosopher Hegel, right? Or should we figure out where we are right now in our life, apply them practically in our life? So this verse is such an important verse for all devotees. And it shows Rupa Goswami's brilliance. Because, before I show that, because the question is, usually when you try to become renounced, I'm not going to eat any more sweets, or I'm not going to, whatever our renunciation is, or I'm not going to look at the opposite sex, or whatever, same sex if we're, gay or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it. That usually makes the heart hard. And you need a soft heart to develop love for Krishna. So how do I become renounced and have a soft heart? Because they seem to be diametrically opposed to each other. And renounce just means, I don't mean, living on, I don't know, crackers or ramen or whatever, ramen noodles. But renounce means putting Krishna in the center of our life instead of ourselves. So Rupa Goswami is a genius. Anashaktasya vishayan yartaham upayunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya uchate. Vishayan, material affairs, should be accepted without attachment, and everything should be dovetailed with the service of the Lord. That is real intelligence. Becoming a family man or king in the material world is not harmful if one accepts everything for Krishna's service. So this point here, Krishna sambandhe. So you don't reject material things, but you see the connection with Krishna. and then Yuktam Vairagya, use it all in Krishna's service. You see the whole world as an opportunity for Krishna's service. And that's renunciation, because you're not trying to enjoy it for yourself, but because you're making the Krishna Sambandhe, then your heart is soft, you're thinking of Krishna, and you're really renounced, truly renounced. You might not wear saffron or shave your head or whatever, but you're truly renounced because you're using everything for the pleasure of Krishna. This is brilliant. This verse can be used in Vaishnavism. It could be used in any other faith, to understand, because faith, you have monks, and in Buddhism you have renunciates in Catholicism, etc. It's a brilliant statement. So what should a householder do? This is one of my favorite Prabhupada joking around, or Prabhupada being sarcastic. Guru Kripa Prabhu says, Sanatana Goswami also depended on Krishna to provide him food. Prabhupada, yes, but for the renounced order of life, the order is you must beg, bhiksha. Not much. If I can subsist by taking one chapati, I'll simply ask for one chapati, not for two chapatis. That is Shastra. If you can live without any chapati, that is very good. But you can ask as much as you require, not to eat sumptuously and sleep 24 hours. No. Bhurijan Prabhu says, and what about householders, Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada, oh, householders? Householders can eat the whole world and sleep. So there's a little Prabhupada sarcasm there. Now, the example that's sometimes given by devotees in a class like this is, I better look at the clock here. Okay, we're doing that. Is you find a wallet on the ground, right? And so one person just, takes all the money and maybe tries to use the credit cards and enjoy. Another person leaves it as it is and just says, it's none of my business. And then another person picks it up, finds out the name of the person, calls them, and returns it to them. And that's sometimes given as an analogy for karma, gyan, and bhakti. The karmi enjoys it, takes the money out and uses it. The Gyani rejects it all, it's not mine. And the Bhakta takes it all and then finds out its real owner, knowing that everything belongs to Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. So, we don't have to change, I was going to quote a song, we don't have to change our evil ways. No, we don't have to change our ashram or anything. Jnana prayasamu darapasta mananteva. Just for those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, don't change anything externally, but throw away gyan, and with our body, minds, and words, offer respects to the descriptions of Krishna's personality and activities, dedicate our lives to hearing about him, which are vibrated by personalities and by your pure devotees. And that person certainly conquers your lordship, although you are otherwise, Krishna's unconquerable, but that conquers him. So we don't have to change anything externally. We have to try to develop our internal consciousness and really get a higher taste. We can pray to Krishna for a higher taste. This is the highest taste, right? Understanding Radha and Krishna's loving affairs, and just Vrindavan. I mean, I was just hearing the other day, the Bhagavatam, ultimately, its only purpose is to lead us to Vraj, lead us to Vrindavan, because that's the devotees that love Krishna the most, with no pretension, with the greatest humility, with the greatest affection. So is it difficult? The process is easy, right? But being sincere at least my experience is, being sincere is really hard. When my mind is saying, oh, 16 rounds, ouch, okay, let me just kind of press on cruise control and get through them. To stop that thinking and to sincerely chant and sincerely beg Krishna and be in that mood, because that takes like some work. It's so much easier to just kind of automatic pilot, but to actually muster up that sincerity. And just know that we always are seeking enjoyment. So if Prabhupada told this to Bhurijan Prabhu, he said, You have to associate with devotees, because if you don't associate with devotees, you're a social. Every human beings are social animals. You'll have to associate with non-devotees, and if you associate with non-devotees, you won't be able to follow the regulated principles. So we are enjoying seekers, and we just forget how enjoyable it is to be a devotee and to just try to please Guru and Krishna. So we need that spiritual nourishment, that higher taste. And how to get that? Well, chant Hare Krishna. And equally as important, in some lectures I actually heard recently Prabhupada say this, and take prasadam. Look at that. That may be making you salivate. It's not too far from breakfast there on the East Coast of America. But taking prasadam is, especially if we don't just woof it down, but we thank Krishna and we're full of gratitude when we're honoring prasadam. And reading the Bhagavatam. There's Prabhupada reading the first canto. And that looks like, that must be Juhu. Yes, that's true. There. And now look at this picture. This is a younger, because Kirtan in his lap right now, I think is 17 years old. And so that's a younger Gauravani. But Kirtan, so nice. And finally, setting up an altar in our home, worshiping Radha Murlidhar, somehow or other doing deity worship. And this is Panch Anga Bhakti, the 5 most potent items of bhakti. And the Rupa Goswami says that even a little practice of them can create like glimpses of Bhava Bhakti even in a neophyte. They're so powerful. So yeah, all right. Well, that was I was told to leave 15 minutes for questions. I think that's what we have pretty much. Is that right, Nanda Vihari Prabhu? I think so. So there you have it. That was my presentation for today on a verse, because pick a verse, any verse. Questions, comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Splendid class. We loved hearing from you. We feel we're basking in your good heart and wisdom. When I've listened to a lot of Vaisheshika Prabhu's classes lately, and every once in a while he goes, "When I was a kid," he starts talking about his own experiences, and I see everyone perks up and listens to that. It's not just some information, but it's a direct. Prabhupada says, example is higher than precept.
Right.
Higher than precept. So, in my own experience, when I was a kid, they made us read this book called, you probably read this, Catcher in the Rye.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Salinger? Is that? I forget the.
Holden Caulfield.
Okay.
J.D. Salinger, right? So he's a kid and he's like a teenager, and he's noticing, like you talked about, the danger of the material world. He's noticing that there's a lot of phonies. In other words, the normal person who's not a phony, a genuine person is loving and caring and giving. But a phony is somebody who is actually very selfish and might pretend to be a well-wisher or a parent or a friend, but their basic motivation is So there's the book talks about seeing phony people, and then it also talks about innocence, that there are innocent kids that the phonies are exploiting or, somehow or other abusing or neglecting to give them the truth, So you got these phonies, and then you have these kids. And then the idea is the catcher in the rye, that there actually is a possibility of somebody who cares for and is protecting the innocent, So we have those components in every society, that there are even people pretending to be devotees or pretending to be teachers or leadership person, but actually they're just like exploiters, right? And then you have the innocent people, and then you have the actual devotees that are actually not only capable of protecting the innocent kids, but are doing it. So
Right.
just something a reflection on
Thank you.
those.
And thank you. You sparked when you said about when I was a kid, it sparked something else that I wanted to mention, but I forgot to. And that is, the different seasons of our life, right? We quoted that Rishabdev, and that was specifically, especially for sannyasis. And when we're younger, let's say, okay, when we're brahmacharis, that's a whole nother scene there. That's just service to guru. When we're young householders, we kind of should, that's a time when we should go for it in the material, not forget Krishna, but make a stance, do something super dynamic and use our energy, our passion, energy in Krishna service, and start a family and raise them nicely and all those things that we have to do, we do in that age. But then there is a time when things should change. And that's what sparked, this discussion with Jayadvaita Swami, and it was Maharaj, my wife, and I speaking about Vanaprastha ashram. And I was thinking of a few things. I was thinking it's kind of the turnover time in life, and not like an apple turnover; those probably have eggs in them. But turnovers, and it's like, for example, my service is ISKCON Resolve and helping to solve conflicts. But it's my time to really establish it, get regional representatives, and gradually turn it over to them. Turn it over. And in my family, I'm trying to turn over the paying bills and expenses to my son, and just say, okay, just lay that off of my head. I'm 66 years old, almost 67. It's time for me to focus on other things. And it's kind of time to relinquish some of all that gathering and collecting and stuff that may have happened in household life, and start reversing the order and getting ready for the ultimate fact that life is not, the body is not eternal. Jatasya hi dhruvo mature, dhruvam janma mritasya. And I was telling Maharaj, I was trying to be quite honest, frank with him, that one of the hardest things for me has been kind of the seeing, in the 6 symptoms of surrender, anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam, which means accept everything favorable and reject everything unfavorable. But then rikshishiti vishvaso gotrate varanam, to and especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this, gotrate varanam, to understand that Krishna is our maintainer. This comes out really clearly in the end prayers of Queen Kunti. She's saying, "Oh, now what are we supposed to? You're going to leave us? Right now." And I have to say that that's probably one of my biggest struggles in Vanaprastha, is just like, Krishna's going to maintain me. Don't worry so much about money. Just live a more simple life, and just that has been a challenge. That's been one of the challenges for me. I never really thought of myself as my wife and I were telling Maharaj, we're Vanaprasthas, okay, I guess, because I lived 6 months away from her in India, but we didn't really think, okay, now we're gonna, today we're gonna start being no, we didn't. It just kind of happened. But the point is that there's different stages in life, and it's good that we can be guided by people who help us through those different stages, and because there really are scientifically created by Chatur Varnya Maya Sristam. Krishna created the Varnashram system, and it's not that weird. Sometimes it seems so like, how are we going to figure out Varnashram? There's different times in our life, and we have different things that we're expert at doing. Ram Ram. So I just wanted to add that. And some more comments, questions from y'all.
One thing Srila Prabhupada says, and it's also in the Bible, that it's not just that you give up fruitive activity and collecting things and having elaborate arrangements. Like Jesus says to his disciples, go and preach don't think about what you're going to wear, where you're going to sleep, how much money is in your pocket, but preach. So you're not focusing on accumulation and maintenance, but he said, and if you just preach, everything you need will be there. You join the army, they give you a gun, they give you shoes, socks, everything, You join Lord Chaitanya's movement, but you must preach. It's
Give
not
Dodi.
give up everything and just, become a zombie.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes.
Comment on it.
Any other of you mensches out there?
I had a different comment, different topic.
Can you come closer?
Oh, sure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I was just thinking about, the concept the devotees talk about the body and how actually the body is very intelligent. And before we end up with these bigger illnesses, it's giving us signs every day. And actually, if we were sensitive and listened, then we could actually serve Krishna better, responding to our bodies instead of taking Advil and shutting off this that's telling you this, or the tongue. So yeah, just the point of listening to the messages of the body so we can serve.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Others? Don't make me tell Brahmatirtha jokes for the rest of the time. Krishna, Krishna.
Well, getting old, you do get some wisdom. And then if you're studying Krishna consciousness at the same time, the two go along together just absolutely perfectly. It actually, Krishna consciousness is a process that can make old age like joyful, because you're thinking like, wow, I'm not being pushed so hard by my senses or my desires to control. And it's actually the great thing for getting older.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you. Jeffrey?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for this class. It's serendipitous, or Krishna's mercy. This morning I am a bit distracted because of the householder lifestyle that I am living. And as you've been speaking, I've been running back and forth between this class and other responsibilities. And that really gives me this question is, as we are attached to our bhakti and our material existence simultaneously, how do we, strike that balance between that focus on wonderful teachers like yourself who can share with us this knowledge, but also the responsibilities and the distractions of the daily grind of being a householder and chasing after young children and things like that, who sometimes don't have much respect for the fact that we're trying to listen to a teacher. And how do we view that, and is that chasing after a rambunctious child really bhakti in and of itself?
Well, now I have 4 minutes to answer that, right?
No pressure.
Well, there's a bunch of things I could say. One thing is Prabhupada makes a distinction between conditioned dharma and constitutional dharma. So constitutional dharma is bhakti, and conditioned dharma is doing what, the things we have to do in our life, like you just meant chasing a child. And you try as much as you can to link the conditional with the constitutional. You may not be able to link all of it, but we try as much as we can to do that. Now, to get a little technical, there's different levels of bhakti. Jiva Goswami talks about Swarup Siddhi Bhakti, and that is directly Krishna, like deity worship, like chanting on our beads, like hearing the Bhagavatam, right? That's like direct stuff. The next one is Aropya city, like, for example, you're the treasurer of the temple. And so, you go into the bank and all, but it's all for Krishna. Right? And then the next level down is one that, you're kind of bringing up. I can't remember the title of it, but we're trying to link it to Krishna as much as possible. Just like in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 26 and 27. So 26 talks about pure bhakti. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Just offer me a leaf, a flower, fruit, water. With bhakti, the word bhakti is mentioned twice in that verse. And Krishna says, asnami, I will accept it. The point is, Krishna is saying, do this, and you do it with bhakti. The next verse, yad kurosi, yad asnasi, yad jahosi, dadasi, yad. You do what you're going to do, and then you offer that to Krishna. And that's sometimes called karma yoga. Doing what you're going to do, but you connect it with Krishna. And then there's just stuff that we have to do as householders. You got to go, take your child to the dentist and, fix the flat tire and all that sort of stuff. And we just, we try our best. When we're driving to work, we try to listen to a class or a kirtan, and we try to, remember Krishna as much as possible. And also, what is that famous saying? This too shall pass. How old is your child or your children?
There's a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and then there's 2 teenagers as well.
Wow.
Wow, no wonder you're so happy. Yeah, so even the this too shall pass is a little, you said 3-year-old, so it means at least another 15, 16 years until they're out of the house, right? But it does pass. My son is 34 now, and he was once 3, and he was once a teenager. Oh yeah, teenager. But so there are different times in our life, and there's a time when we'll be able to spend more time, let's say, hearing and chanting or visiting the temple, and this might not be that. But the fact that I've seen you at so many of these Bhakti Center classes, it's quite amazing what you're doing. It's quite amazing.
All by Krishna's mercy. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, by Krishna's mercy. Yeah. Yeah, but the trick is, here's the trick. The trick is what do we do with our discretionary time? Because it is, I was talking about Facebook, YouTube, etc. After we've worked hard and chased the kid around the house and paid the bills and all that, sometimes the brain just says, let me just space out and watch a movie. Or what did the president do today? And that is the challenge, is to switch gears, and during discretionary time use that in Krishna's service. And he'll appreciate that so much. But it's hard because we're kind of in the mode of passion, running around and doing things in this world, and these other things are in the mode of YouTube videos or whatever. So we're attracted to that, and it's hard to slow down to the mode of goodness, what to speak of spiritual goodness, and pick up our beads or listen to a Prabhupada lecture is not as exciting on one level as Mission Impossible, on one level, right? If we're really in the mode of passion. But the tricky thing is that when you force your mind to do it, about 2 minutes later, you're so thankful. Oh, this was so good that I, listened to what Prabhuji said, a Vaisheshika Prabhu lecture or whatever. But it's that moment of decision. Our time is up, according to my clock here in Vrindavan or in Govardhan. Is that right?
Exactly.
Oh, confirmed.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari,
for
Prabhu.
this opportunity. Ananda Bihari, you're always very kind to this fallen soul. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari, Prabhu, for answering questions, presenting, picking up the nice verse. Thank you. Darshan time. We need more cameras, please. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Neha. Hari Charan. Thank you.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way in which we maintain good relationship. I bow to the lotus feet to create our happiness, but its grace will across the ocean of material suffering to attain the mercy of Krishna. The only wish to have my consciousness purified emanates.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Thank you very much for sticking around. I really like how Vraj Vihari Prabhu brought it all down to the basics. There's a lot of esoteric aspects to Krishna consciousness, but we shouldn't forget about the basics, about reading Srila Prabhupada's books, about the quality of our association, about taking prasadam. Jeffrey Prabhu, please don't forget to take prasadam. That Maya starts with one cookie that you don't bother to offer to Krishna. It all starts very small, very subtle. When we neglect the basics, okay. Would anyone like to speak? Haricharan Prabhu, what are your takeaways? Let's prepare Haricharan Prabhu. He's giving class soon. Let's prepare him. Let's
Thank
break
you.
the
I'm
ice.
not sure what to speak actually after hearing this.
Takeaways,
Yeah,
maybe something stuck out to you that you'd like to reflect back, please.
yeah, I think like whatever you said, like sticking to the basics is very important. Sometimes like we'll be thinking like we need to do so many things, but like whatever, like patram pushpam phalam toyam, right? Those are the important things that we need to do. Yeah, that's what I think.
And Srila Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple,
Yeah,
and it can be complicated for
yeah,
somebody that has those tendencies.
yeah.
Jai. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? Adipurusha Prabhu, have you sufficiently glorified Krishna in this class?
I have something to contribute, but I'm, I need a few minutes to get on the elevator downstairs.
Okay. Okay, come back after a few minutes. Jeffrey Eckler will fill the gap with something in line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra.
Hare Krishna, I just put the several verses in the chat today. I'm going to have to go back and read through some of those again that Vraj Vihari referenced. But it was very helpful to hear this morning, and as I mentioned, it just seemed to fit in really well with what was going on in my world. So I felt like that was some mercy right there. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share these mornings with everyone on this call. So I don't really have much else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. I was on a call with customer service, something work related yesterday, and for most of the class, and there's a void in my heart. After missing just one day, there's a void, big void that I'm trying to fill. We all have this God-shaped, morning class-shaped void in our heart. Yeah, we need that. It's our lifeline. Champakalata Saki once said, hearing about Krishna is our lifeline. I've like this oxygen mask. Finally, I can breathe now.
You know, one thing I was thinking while Vraj Vihari was speaking about like finding ourselves in our downtime and when we don't have 100 things going on. It's really for the grihastas on the call, but my Gurudev told me to read the Prabhupada Lilamrita. This is in the fall of last year, and as I make my way through the 7 volumes, that has really become my my Mission Impossible time. Is that theatrical kind of story of Prabhupada's mission is as, if not more engaging than any, you know, film I've ever watched. And as the story progresses over time, you know, it's kind of like it's just super engaging. So I would, if anyone hasn't really kind of sat down and read that, I would suggest that for the downtime, because it's written so well, and it's not heavy philosophy necessarily, although it is as effective.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. That's one of the first Krishna consciousness books that I read, joining the movement back in the day. And I even cried one time. I remember I was on the train. I was still doing nonsense. I'm still am doing nonsense, but I wasn't involved in any way. But it made me cry, when Srila Prabhupada, when it was describing Srila Prabhupada's departure. I was like, no, this holy man.
I'll tell you, there's a story, and it's brief in the very beginning, when Prabhupada's a child, and he gets burned on his leg, and the story is being recounted by one of his disciples, and as I was reading it, and to your point about crying, I started to tear up as I thought about being so close to Prabhupada that you could even know that he had a scar on his leg, and to have the the experience of being a parent and knowing how scary it would be for your child to be close enough to a fire to be burned like that in a way that would leave a scar that would last until they were 70. And that very brief, it's probably a couple sentences in the book, it just has stuck with me. It says that is really the appreciation and the depth of the relationship with Guru is this care and concern 65 years after the injury, but awareness of the injury, and that closeness to actually physically observe the effect of that injury on his body. I was just very moved by that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. Yeah, we can all get close to Prabhupada by following his instruction and sharing the gift with others. Karipusha Prabhu always reminds us, don't keep it to yourself. Have a little bit of bhakti today, feel like devotional, give it to others. Treat other people with the same love that Srila Prabhupada is treating us with. Jai. Okay, Adibusha Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Well, many people ask the same question. How do I balance the things I have to do for bodily maintenance with my devotional service to Krishna? How do I balance that? And what I've heard from Srila Prabhupada is, I was praying to Prabhupada what to say about that when that question was asked, is that if the intention of our life, can you hear me okay? Hello?
It's Prabhu.
Yes, I can hear you, Prabhu.
Yes.
If the intention of our life is to serve Krishna, then if we have laundry to do, if we have bills to pay, if we have, errands to run or things that are maintenance, and we're doing them so that we can serve Krishna, even sleeping so that I can serve Krishna is service to Krishna. It's not a balance. It's a matter of these things are supportive services. Like when they have a war, they say there's the people on the front lines, and then there's the man behind, the man behind, the man behind the gun, the person who's making bullets in a factory, the person who's growing food so that they can send it to the war front. That's all part of the war effort. So whatever we do, in order that we can serve Krishna, that is devotional service. And Krishna is always ready to speak to us. We don't have to be confused that we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. If we ask, Krishna will show us how to manage our time, how to carry out these tasks so that they support our devotional service. It's not downtime that we do devotional service. It's the goal of our other activities. Does that make sense?
Yes, Hare Krishna. It isn't
Sometimes,
downtime. I appreciate that point.
Sometimes they say, suppose you have one foot on the boat and one foot on the dock.
It's an uncomfortable position.
And the boat is moving, No, jump on the boat with both feet. That's the solution. You don't want to balance this ridiculous thing that I do some of this and I do some of that. The intention of our life, the bottom line is, how can I serve you, Lord? And then other things have to be done so that we can actually do that service. And those things are included as credit to our devotional activity.
And what did Srila Prabhupada mean by saying that Krishna consciousness is a gradual process? And follow-up question, does putting both feet on the boat entail giving up your family, quitting your job, screwing up your health, any of those things?
No, that's completely ridiculous. That's not appropriate renunciation. Just like you're not going to say to your daughter, I'm not your father, but you say, I'm serving as your father.
Yeah.
I'm happy to serve as your father. But ultimately, we're not these bodies. So there's a way to express this that doesn't make it sound absurd. That we have activities that are probably just do the needful. If you don't, for example, on the plane, if there's going to be an emergency, the oxygen masks fall down, right? And if you're with a child, it says, first put the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can put the oxygen mask on the child. Because if you're struggling with the child and you pass out, you're not going to achieve anything. So we do those things not for a selfish purpose, but so that we can go on in devotional service and gradually decrease the maintenance and increase the service. But even at the stage where we're doing a lot of maintenance and just a little service, if that's the best we can do at that point, that's perfect. It's not that you gradually um, intend to, but that's a very simple thing. I want to serve you, Lord. How can I serve you? I'm here for you. And then the other things will be auxiliary, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a insight about that as well.
Maturnath
Um,
Prabhu, please share your insight.
Hariko, that we can also be like doing the little things. Krishna, I'm doing this for you. I'm running after my kids for you. I'm I'm cleaning their poop up in your service. They're your part and parcel. I'm cooking right now. I'm doing this for you. So it's not like, okay, I do service and then I turn off and I do other things. Krishna says, all that you do, places a sacrifice at my feet. Offer it to me, everything. So just trying to remember, like, oh, I usually just do this and I'm trying to get this over with this so I can get to my chanting. And I'm catching myself going, no, let me do this like I do my chanting.
That's right.
And boom, wow, it's not like I'm trying to get all these things done and so I can it's that's the whole concept of I'm attached to a result. I'm trying to get this over with because it's a result. No, do it, be in it right now for Krishna 100%, all with every cell of your body.
That's right. Very nice point, Maturnath Prabhu. Thank you. I'm going to try to apply it today. I'll report back tomorrow during the afterglow. Yeah, it's not just food. Everything is supposed to be offered to Krishna. Like Adipurusha Prabhu's apron is offered to Krishna. Yeah.
I love that apron. I want that Maha apron when he gives that up. I'm going to sleep with that apron.
I sew the apron so I can stay awake in class. But people ask me for these aprons all the time. They offer me $100. Where'd you get that? I want one of those. And it's just a rag, basically. It's very simple, but because it's used in Krishna service, it has some attractiveness.
So that's your next project, Adipurusha Prabhu, an apron from Maturnath.
I'll
Please
send.
send us your parameters, Maturnath Prabhu, your waist,
We use
everything.
them. We use them in the Krishna's prasad distribution for the homeless.
I'll
Yeah.
take my measurements. I'm gonna use it for book distribution.
Yeah, actually, I've done some distribution wearing the apron, and it's a prop. It's a servant's garment, and somehow they think, well, he's not just some guy. He's must be doing some work or something. And, it somehow or other, it stops. It takes them a minute to try to process it. I see they're looking at it. They ask about it. But the funniest thing is people offering me $100, one of these simple cotton denim aprons, hand sewn. That happens all the time. So strange.
That's because they see how happy you are doing service in Prabhupada's movement, and they want to be like you. They want to. It's a good start, starting with the apron. But what they
But
really want is to be happy like you are in Krishna consciousness.
It also helps me invite them to come and help with distribution. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
People are you a butcher or what are you? And I said, no, we're feeding the homeless and you can actually come and help. It's a vegetarian program. We do this in God's name. I mean,
Wow.
we're supposed to engage people in devotional service all day long. One lady I saw a while ago, she had a dog and the dog had this dog coat on. And I told her, wow, I have the same shirt. She laughed, Of course, I don't have the same shirt as the dog, same color. Um, but then the next time I saw her, I said, oh, good morning, And then the next time I said, Hare Krishna. And she said, Hare Krishna. And then I saw her in the bodega and we invited her to come and help with prasad distribution. So the conversation may start with an apron or with some joke, but we know where we're going with it. We're just, because you can't just always just walk up to people and um, bring them to devotional service right away. Sometimes you have to break the ice a little bit.
Yeah. Jay, thank you very much. So on this high note, we're wishing everybody a happy Friday. Give this Friday to Krishna. You'll never regret it. Come again tomorrow for Srimad Bhagavatam class for discussion. We need one another. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dana Krishna Radharani, thank you.
I am
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you all so much. I'm giving you all big hugs. Thank you.
Jai, Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.